I was dreaming of bigger things and wanna leave my old life behind. Thunder.
You're listening to the Create What You Speak podcast. My intention is to change the lives of 1 million women, one podcast at a time. Now let's get started.
Thunder, feel the thunder.
My name is Sloan Fremont, and today I'm going to talk to you about the unseen.
Call to the devil and the devil did come. Said to the devil, devil, do you like drums? Do you like cigarettes? Dominoes, rum? He said only sundown, Sundays, Christmas, Sundays. And when I need a few friends, now and again I can never hope to keep them. Thought to give friends what I thought that they wanted. Never had they needed a good friend as I've been. Don't get me venting on friends who resent you, cause all you ever done.
Welcome to another episode of the Create What You Speak podcast. If you're new to the show, I want to welcome you. In this podcast, I take a one-word topic and I talk about how you can use that to create your own reality. And this week we're going to talk about the unseen. And no, I do not mean ghosts, spirits, nothing like that. What I'm talking about is the unseen forces of the universe working behind the scenes that are trying so hard to give us the good in our lives. But often we resist that because we don't believe we can have it, or we don't believe we deserve something good, so we don't let it in. And the unseen is the trust and the faith we have in the universe that our needs will be met, that we'll be taken care of no matter what, even if we can't see that today. And the unseen, to me, it includes our beliefs in what can happen for us and what is headed our way, whether it's good or bad, right? We talk about that all the time on the show. What you think about is what you get. And so the unseen, to me, as I was thinking about describing this, it's really the currency of the universe, right? It's that, it can be described as that energy that everything comes and goes on, and what we believe and what we think about and what we focus on is what gets delivered to us. And if we want good things to come in, we have to have this unwavering belief in the unseen, right? We have to be able to believe it before we can see it. And so that's what we're going to talk about this week. But before I get to that, I wanted to update you on a couple of things. First, my coaching page is live on my website. So if you're interested in personalized coaching with me, just go to sloanfremont.com and click on the coaching tab. And the second thing I wanted to tell you about, this is really exciting. I just got back from a trip to Fort Lauderdale, you know, my favorite place to go. I go there a lot. And I actually had quite an amazing and unexpected trip there. I ended up having a first date there with a very wonderful man who flew down there to meet me, and we ended up spending the weekend together there. He had his own hotel room. I had my room, right? So it wasn't like that, but he flew to meet me for our first date, and I had no plans for this going into the trip, right? I had no idea. I did not expect that at all. It was totally literally last minute, but I manifested this in such an amazing way that I couldn't have planned it any better. I mean, it was amazing, magical. I don't even know how to explain it. And I know how I got this because I kept myself in this high vibe place. And we're going to talk about this on today's show, but I was able to focus myself on feeling so good and believing in the unseen. I believed that good was coming, and I opened my arms to receive it, and I got it, right? I was able to believe it before I could see it. And so I'm going to leave it at that for now, but I'll update you more as this progresses. Okay, so on to this week's episode about the unseen. And remember, as we get into this episode, take what resonates with you and leave the rest. Okay, so back on episode 58, I did a show called Mind Games. And I talked about this mind game I had been playing with myself to ask myself better questions. And one of the questions I had been asking, and that was working for me very well, was this question of, wouldn't it be nice if? And then I would answer the question with daydreaming about what I wanted, right? So I would say, wouldn't it be nice if I met amazing people when I went to Fort Lauderdale? Wouldn't it be nice if I had the best trip ever when I went to, wouldn't it be nice if something wonderful happened to me today, tomorrow, next week, whatever? And I started doing this because I don't know about you, but one of the traps that's really easy for me to fall into is when I start to ask the worst questions when things aren't going my way. So for example, if I'm in a bad mood and things aren't going so well, maybe at work, questions might go through my mind God, why is this person always an asshole? Or why does this project always have to be so complicated? Or why do we always have to meet so late in the day, right? Or if I'm driving somewhere and, I might ask, why is traffic always so slow? Or why do all of these drivers suck? And asking those kinds of negative questions, it's going to give me negative answers, right? And in turn, I'm going to get negative results to what I see in my reality. And so on this episode, the mind games episode, I talk about asking this question of wouldn't it be nice if, and that has helped me shift my perspective. And so if you haven't listened to that episode, go back and listen. It's episode 58, where I talk about that more. But I felt like for me, asking the question, wouldn't it be nice if, and then just letting myself go, letting myself daydream, it really did help me get into this high vibing place. Like I hadn't been feeling like that for a while, and I was struggling to find my balance again, like regroup and get back to myself, like who I knew I was as a person. And this is a practice that helped me do that. And I had been doing this for, I don't know, several weeks probably. And it helped me. One of the ways that I guess that I felt that it helped me feel good is because it let me be so expansive with my answers, and I didn't put any parameters around it, right? I didn't restrict myself with anything. Like I just let myself go with it. And so I was asking better questions, and in the better question, I'm getting better answers, right? I'm getting the answers I want because I'm asking a better question. And I believe that's how I was able to call in my amazing date last weekend in Fort Lauderdale, I was asking, wouldn't it be great? Wouldn't it be nice if I met this amazing man, on and on. And so by asking that question and allowing myself the freedom, and then that's a big part of it, allowing myself the freedom to daydream as often and as long as I wanted, it really helped me shift my vibration and feeling good, and, got myself feeling happy again. And as I was doing all of this and thinking better, which in turn was helping me to feel better, there was this part of me, whether I knew it or not, that was trusting the unseen forces of the universe to deliver the goods to me, right? Like as I'm going through this and I'm asking this question and I'm getting myself like excited about what's to come, there was some element of me that I didn't really think about this at the time, but some element of me trusted the universe, trusted these unseen forces that were going on behind the scenes to deliver what I was asking for. And I was getting myself in a place that felt good, that even if I did not have proof in the physical, but I knew that it all starts with the feelings. And when I feel good, only good things can come. And I was believing it before I could see it. And that is so important with anything that you're manifesting. So this concept of the unseen, I think, is a different way to look at how we call in what we want. But that's really what we're doing when we trust that there are better things coming, right? We set ourselves up in this positive, energetic space that the universe, like the unseen, it has no other option but to bring us something wonderful. And we're believing it no matter what it looks like today. And on the flip side, this is also what we're doing when we fear something and we're feeling these negative, low energy vibes, right? Like we're letting that fear run wild and cause us all kinds of pain. And we're fearing the unknown or the unseen, even though we can't see that there's anything before us to fear. We're just choosing the fear option instead of the open and the happy option of it, right? And really what we're doing here is we're making it up. Either way, we're telling ourselves stories. And we've talked about this on other, I can't remember which episode I did. It's called Stories, but it's what story do you want to tell? Do you want to tell the good story and get the good results? Or do you want to tell the bad story and get the shitty results? And that's really our choice that we have. And when we do this, when we limit ourselves with these negative thoughts and feelings, we limit the many blessings that the universe wants to deliver us, right? Like we say we want X, but we don't allow ourselves to feel excited or happy about X, so we never get X, right? And just because we can't see something right here today doesn't mean that things are bad, right? It doesn't mean that we've done something wrong. It just means it's in the process, that there's things going on behind the scenes that we don't really need to know about, that's bringing forth to us what we want. And I think it's really easy to fall into the negative side of that thinking, and where we really close ourselves off to getting what we're asking for. I saw this quote that summed up this concept of the unseen perfectly, and it said this: fear and faith ask the same thing of us, to believe in the unseen. Fear and faith ask the same thing of us, to believe in the unseen. So which do you choose, right? Like, what are you choosing? To believe the fear, or are you choosing to believe the faith side of things? And are you choosing, are you okay with believing it before you can see it? right? Like we can do this with the good or the bad. Either way, it's our choice. We 100% have the choice. I think we fall into this thinking that we always have to believe the negative, but we don't. We have a choice in this. We can decide how we want to feel. I was thinking about all the stuff that I've talked about over 60 episodes on this show and how I changed my life a few years ago and how I continue to do so today, right? I just had another example of that. And all of the good stuff I've called in and all of the amazing ways my life continues to unfold and surprise me. And as I said, all of that required me to believe in something I couldn't see. It required me to focus on the positive and the expectation that whatever it is that I want will come to me. And to do that more often than I believed the negative, right? That's really all it was. It's not like I was 100% positive all the time. And I wasn't. There's still times that I fall backwards, but I was and have been positive more often than I have been negative. And I think that's one of the big keys, because we have to get in a place where we are believing it before we can see it more often than not. And it would have been very easy for me to accept the fearful thoughts and only believe in those, right? But I chose differently. I chose differently when I changed my life. I chose differently before I went to Florida this time, that something was going to happen that I just was so excited for. And I chose to have faith in the good rather than the bad, even though I couldn't see it and I didn't know how it would turn out. And in doing so, I have created for myself this amazing life. And instead of fighting the unseen, right? Instead of fighting this and feeling panic and anxiety by it, I partnered with it. And here's how I did that. I talked myself into feeling good on a regular basis rather than letting the shitty thoughts rule the day, the week, the hour, even the minute sometimes, right? And I did that more often than not. I felt good more often than I felt bad. And I trusted that there's a future out there waiting for me that's beyond what I can see or even grasp at this present moment. But I know it's going to be even better than anything I've ever imagined. And I chose to believe that. I chose that when I changed my life, and I still choose that belief today. I partnered with the unseen by believing that better days can and will come, even if it doesn't look like it today. And that I could trust the wait and embrace the uncertainty. And this is huge, right? Trusting the wait and embracing the uncertainty. That when nothing is certain, anything is possible. And there is so much power from that. There's so much power that comes from focusing on how I want to feel rather than trying to control it all and figure it out myself. I let go and I let the universe fill in the details. And I partnered by deciding that this time things can be different, right? That I can be open to the good and open to receiving all the good that's waiting for me and letting it all in instead of trying to resist it or control it or cast it away with my doubts and fears. And that I partnered with the unseen by deciding that since I get to begin again every second on how I want to feel, I get to choose to think the thoughts that make me feel good. So I get to trust in the good that's coming. I get to trust so hard that it's like I can't even imagine anymore torturing myself with those terrible, shitty thoughts, right? I mean, it's so easy to do, but I decided I'm not going to do this anymore, right? I get to begin again. And if I don't like how I'm feeling right in this second, I get to begin again in the next second and in the next and in the next. And I get to begin again tomorrow and the next day and the next. And I get to choose how that goes for me. And I partner by deciding that I can take somebody at their word and believe and trust them no matter what the past looked like or what my fear wants me to believe. But I think most of all, I partnered with the unseen by believing it before I could see it. And I was relentless in that pursuit. I just was. And I still am. I did that when I changed my life. I did that, over the past 3 years, time and time again. And that to me was one of the biggest changes I made. That I partnered with the unseen by believing it before I could see it, and I was relentless in that pursuit. I think, and I know, and it takes a lot of guts to stand in this faith, right? In this space of believing it before we can see it and trusting that something good is coming your way, especially if it doesn't look that way today, right? Like, because I've been there, I know, I know. But if you think about it, what's your alternative, right? Most of us know how to live in fear. We've done it our whole lives. We're taught to live that way. But what if we just tried something different? What if we just looked at things a little bit differently? And what if we had faith and just believed in the unseen, believed that there's good coming towards us? What do you think might happen for your life? So as you move forward this week, you get to decide which unseen force you want to focus on. Do you want to focus on the unseen force of fear? Fearing what you may not know, and allowing those fearful thoughts to take up your precious time and energy on things that you don't want, or things that make you feel bad, or the things that restrict you and close you off? Or can you decide to do something different and focus on the unseen force of faith, of all the good things to come, right? And trust and believe that all is well, and that you can believe it before you see it. And then if it's happening to you, it's got to be good, and things are going to turn out even better than you expect. Can you become so relentless in this pursuit, so relentless, like I was, of having faith that something good is coming, that you make that your main focus? I don't know, over the next 7 days, 7 weeks, 7 months, or even 7 minutes, right? Because that's how it goes some days. Even 7 seconds for me, like if I really get amped up. But I promise you that if you can do that more often than you don't, you will experience life-changing events. I promise you. There's no other option. People and events will come into your life you never could have dreamed of, and you will have visible proof that you can think your way into something good, no matter what it looks on the outside. I promise you. And I proved that once again to myself this past weekend when I met the most dreamiest of men who I've ever met, who flew to Fort Lauderdale to meet me for our first date, and we had the best weekend ever. And like I said, that wasn't planned going into the trip, but I had myself in such a great feeling place that there was no other option but for something good to happen to me. And it did. And you can do it too. So give it a try. Just give it a try this week and see where it takes you. And one of the best pieces of advice I can give you in this is, and I think this is important to remember as you go forward, is just to relax, right? Because when you try to control everything, you enjoy nothing. So learn to trust the wait and embrace the uncertainty, because I promise you that's where all the good stuff is. All right, so that's it for this week's topic of the unseen. I'll do a quick recap of today's show, and then I want to talk about the songs I chose, and then I'll close this out. So I started talking about what I actually mean by unseen forces on this episode, right? So I'm not talking about ghosts. I want to be very clear about that at the beginning. But this episode was really about just the unseen forces of the universe that are working behind the scenes to deliver us the goods, right? To deliver us what we want. And I think we often resist this because maybe we don't believe we can have it, or we don't believe we deserve something good. And our thoughts, our negative thoughts about that, keep us from letting it in. And really, to me, the unseen is this currency of the universe. It can be maybe described as the energy that everything comes and goes on. And what we believe, what we think about, and what we focus on is what gets delivered to us, right? We talk about that all the time on this show. And I mentioned the quote, "Fear and faith ask the same thing of us, to believe in something unseen." And the good news is we get to decide what we focus on. We get to decide. Do we want to focus on the unseen force of fear, fearing what we may not know, and allowing those fearful thoughts to take up all of our time and our energy and our space about things that we don't want and things that make us feel bad or restrict us? Or do we want to look at the other side of that and focus on and have this amount of faith that something good is coming my way, right? Do we want to believe it before we can see it? I mean, to me, that's the key. That's the sweet spot. If you can get yourself there, if you can get yourself believing it before you see it, more often than not, that's when you're going to start seeing results. And things come way easier that way, trust me, I know. And I chose to focus on feeling good and believing that only good was coming my way. And as a result, I met an amazing man who flew to Fort Lauderdale to meet me for our first date. I mean, we had this epic weekend, right? And when you focus on the good and you're relentless in that pursuit, I promise, doors will open for you and your life will change in amazing ways, just like mine has. So try it. Try it for the next 7 days, 7 weeks, whatever feels good to you, and see where it takes you. And I truly believe if we want the good things to come in, we have to have this unwavering belief in the unseen. We have to be able to believe it before we can see it and know that the best is yet to come. All right, so the songs I picked this week. The intro song, okay, this is one, I really love this song. It's called Free Fall by Rainbow Kitten Surprise. I love this song for this topic today of unseen because back when I was changing my life, that's how I described myself, as I was free falling. Like I just let go of control, and I just felt like I was just falling, like Alice falling down the rabbit hole, right? Like just free falling. And this song, that's what they're talking about, right? She says, scratch, kick, let gravity win, like fuck this, let gravity win, like you could leave it all behind. Even the devil need time alone sometimes. You could let it all go. You could let it all go. It's called free fall. Right? It's called free fall. And I just think that's this whole song. I just love this song, especially as it relates to this topic. Like just being able to free fall and let it go, right? Just trust and believe it before you can see it. All right, outro song. This is probably my favorite John Mayer song. It's called Good Love Is on the Way. And this is the live version. I love this version. I love John Mayer. And actually if you saw I think I posted on Instagram, Charlie Worsham does this thing in Nashville called Every Damn Monday at the Basement East every Monday in July. And he'll do like various nights. Like last Monday was John Mayer night. And so he brings a bunch of different people out and they sing a bunch of John Mayer songs. And, anyway, he didn't play this one, but I was hoping he would. But anyway, this one's called Good Love Is on the Way by John Mayer. And he talks about 3 years brokenhearted. Now our ghost is finally gone. I'm done with broken people. This is me I'm working on. And then he talks about, he's saying, good love is on the way. I'll be lonely, but I know I'll be okay. I'm good to go for wherever I'm needed. My bags are packed and I'm down by the door. You can take all the tricks up my sleeve. I don't need them anymore. Good love is on the way. And I love this song because, again, it goes with what we're talking about today, just believing good love is on the way. You know, he talks about in the song, change my number. You know, I'm done with broken people. My bags are packed and I'm down by the door, right? I'm ready to go. Like, I don't need this shit anymore. Like, I trust that something good is going to happen. And I trust that good love is on the way. All right, so that's it for this week on our topic of the unseen. I would really love to know your thoughts on this. This is a totally different way to present this idea, but it came to me this week and I thought, I want to talk about that. So let me know what you think. Email me, sloanfremont@gmail.com. My website is sloanfremont.com and also Instagram, Sloan Fremont. And if you like the podcast, please remember to subscribe, rate, and review in iTunes so more people can find me. Abracadabra, now go forth and create what you speak.
Good love. Good love. Good love, good love, good love, good love. Oh.